Welcome students. This is Associate Professor Jaideep Manocha, Department of Information Technology, Arya College of Engineering and Information Technology, Jaipur. This e-lecture is for final year IT students. Subject is software testing and validation. We are in continuation with unit number 1. In this e-lecture, we are going to cover the main topic of this unit, that is types of testing. So testing is categorized in many types. We will take each and every type one by one. So let us start with the testing techniques that you are very much aware with, is known as white box testing. Next will be black box testing. So we are going to explore in the detail these both testings. So let us take the first topic into account, that is white box testing. So when we talk about white box testing, it is further classified in static testing and structural testing. Static is again classified as desk checking, code walkthrough, and code inspection. Next is structural, that is again classified as unit testing, code coverage, and code complexity. When we talk about the second one, that is code coverage, again it is classified in 4 to 5 categories. The main 4 categories are here written on the slide: statement coverage, path coverage, condition coverage, and function coverage. So let us start white boxing one by one. We will take each and every category into account. So first we take the static testing into account. This is the first kind of testing, that is static testing, and categorized as 3 subtopics: desk checking, code walkthrough, and code inspection. So when we talk about static testing, it is a type of testing which requires only the source code of the product, not the binaries, no executables. So it does not involve executing the programs on computers, but involves select people going through the code to find out some important things, like whether the code works according to the functional requirements or not. The code has been written in accordance with the design development earlier in the project life cycle, or whether the code for any functionality has been missed out. That means we have missed something or not. Whether the code handles error properly or not. So basically, static testing in the initial phases is done by humans. Sometimes human can find errors that computer cannot. So we take this thing into account, and static testing by humans is done. By making multiple humans read and evaluate the program, we can get multiple perspectives and therefore have more problems identified upfront than a computer could. So that's why static testing is basically done by human beings. As you know that a human evolution can detect many problems at one go and can even try to identify the root cases of the problems. More often than not, multiple problems can get fixed by attending to the same root case. So typical in this kind of testing is basically known as reactive testing. So in a reactive testing, a test uncovers one problem at a time. Often such kind of testing only reveals the symptoms rather than the root cases. Okay. Thus the overall time required to fix all the problems can be reduced substantially by a human evolution. So students, by making human test the code before execution, computer resources can be saved. So this is the very important thing, that we are saving our computer resources. Of course, this comes at the expense of human resources, not at the expense of machine resources. So this is your static testing. There are multiple methods to achieve this kind of testing. These are desk checking, code walkthrough, code review, and code inspection. So when we talk about desk checking, then we say that we can address such kind of errors that are characterized by no structured method or formalism to ensure completeness, and no maintaining of a log or checklist. That means in desk checking, normally done manually by the author or the coder. Desk checking is a method to verify the portions of the code for correctness only. And when we talk about code walkthrough, the method is basically a formal kind of inspection in which we make some groups. Basically, this is a group oriented method. Walkthrough are less formal than inspections. The line drawn in a formalism between walkthrough and inspection is very thin and varies from organization to organization. That means it is subject to change. The advantage that walkthrough has over a desk checking, you can say that it brings the advantage of multiple perspectives. That means multiple perspectives can be covered. When we talk about formal inspection and code inspection, it is also known as Fagan inspection. Please note down this term, Fagan, F-A-G-A-N inspection. It is not written in the slide, so you please note down it. Basically, students, it is a method normally with a high degree of formalism. That means formality is very high. We are going to consider a lot of formal things. The focus of this method is to detect all faults, violations, and the other side effects. This method increases the number of defects detected by demanding through preparation, enlisting multiple diverse views, assigning specific roles to the multiple participants, and going sequentially through the code in a proper and structured manner. So formal inspection should take place only when the author has made sure that code is ready for inspection by performing some basic desk checking and walkthrough. That means the two things, desk checking and walkthrough, is done. Then we will go for formal inspection. So student, this is basically static kind of testing, and you should know this thing that all these methods are combinedly applied. Okay, these are combinedly applied. That's why when we will come at the end of static testing, it will be fruitful. It is not there that only desk checking will be there, code walkthrough will be there, only code inspection will be there. No, all methods are combinedly applied. So this is about static testing. So when we talk about structural testing, the next part of white box testing, there are a variety of subcategories. The first one you can see at this slide, unit testing. Second one is code coverage, and third one is code complexity. When we talk about unit testing, then we should consider some methods. I am going to explain these methods. When initially the developer can performing certain kind of tests, knowing the input variables and other things, the corresponding expected output variables, then this can be a quick test that checks out any obvious mistakes. By repeating these tests for multiple values of input variables, multiple data values, the confidence level of the developer will go to the next level. Okay, so this is very important kind of testing. For modules with complex logic or conditions, the developer can build a debug version by using this kind of testing. Another approach is that the initial test is to run the product under a debugger or any integrator development tool like IDE. So when we are using these tools, these allow single stepping of instructions. As we know that students, all of you are aware about that. When we are using IDE, so the statement that I have given is true. So when we use IDEs, then IDEs kind of tool will allow single stepping of instructions. That means allowing the developer to stop at the end of each instruction. This is the meaning of single stepping. Please note down. So as well as allowing the developer to stop at the end of each instruction, as well as allowing the developer to view, as well as the permission of modification of the contents of variables is also there, and some more things are there. So there are some breakpoints can be set. Okay, at any function or any instruction by viewing the various system parameters or program variable values. So this is your unit by code functional testing. It is always it is also known as code functional testing. Next is your code coverage testing. We should go in depth of this kind of testing because it covers a wide variety of things. So basically it is made up of the following types of coverage: statement coverage, path coverage, condition coverage, and function coverage. Students, you know that since a product is realized in terms of program code, if we can run test cases to exercise the different parts of the code, then that part of the product realized by the code gets tested. Okay, so when we talk about code coverage testing, it involves designing and executing test cases and finding out the percentage of code that is covered by testing. So the percentage of code covered by a test is found by adopting a technique known as instrumentation of the code. Please note down instrumentation of the code. So there are many types of tools specified for this available to achieve this kind of instrumentation. So when we go for instrumentation, it will rebuild the product, linking the product with a set of libraries provided by the tool vendors. So the instrumented code can monitor and keep an audit of what portions of the code are covered. So let us consider the categories of code coverage: statement, path, condition, and function coverage one by one. So we will take each and every coverage kind of technique one by one with some examples. Like let's say statement coverage is there. So you know that program construct in is most conventional programming language is made up of many things, like sequential control flow is there, some decision making statements will be there, like if then else, multi-way decision statements like switch should be there or can be there, loops will be there. So a program construct is made up of many things. And if we talk about object oriented languages, then constructs can be different, like classes will be there, objects will be there. So as a final year student, I expect from you that you are aware about different types of programming paradigms. So when we talk, that doesn't matter either we are using procedural language, object oriented language, we talk about statement coverage concerning both. Then what is this? Basically, statement coverage, that means total statements exercise divided by total number of executable statements in the program into 100. This is the basic formula that will give you statement coverage, that how many statements are covered while the testing. So the statement coverage for a program which in addition of the percentage of statements executely and actually in a set of tests are there can be calculated by this formula. I am repeating that formula again. Statement coverage is equal to total statements exercised by total number of executable statements in the program, and the result is to be multiplied by 100. Then you will get the percentage. So this is again one kind of exercise of white box testing. When we talk about path coverage, we split a program into a number of distinct paths. A program can start from the beginning and take any of the paths into completion. Let's say we can divide the program into some points. You can imagine a graph in which we are giving some particular points A, B, C, D, E, F, G to each and every point of the program. Okay? And that means you prepare a flow chart. Let's say the decision box first is A, then the second is B, the rectangle box at C, and the result box at D. So you can form different paths like A, BDG, BDH, BCEG. So when we talk about these different paths, regardless of the number of statements in each of these paths, we can execute these paths. Then we can check that these paths are properly working or not. Path coverage provides a stronger condition of coverage than statement coverage because it relates to the various logical things, logical paths. Okay, so it is fully different from statement coverage. Statement coverage is just covering a statement, but it is covering the logical paths. Similarly, we have one more kind of coverage technique, that is condition coverage. And let us take the same example that I am explaining here, that you have a flow chart, you have marked some points like A, B, C, D, E. So in that example, even if we covered all the logical paths, but it would not mean that the program is fully tested. For example, let's say we can make the program taking a path, let's say A, by giving a value less than 1. Okay, for example 0. That means at a path A, the value is 0. Okay, of some particular variable. Let the name of the variable is month. Then we find that we have covered the path A and the program has detected the month is valid or invalid. You can getting my point. You can get my point here. That means if we are fixing a value to a particular thing, then in condition coverage, it is checked that the value is valid or not. You can see again the three things: statement coverage, covering the statements only; path coverage is checking the logical paths, but the condition coverage is validating the values at different points of a path. So this is about condition coverage. Basically, the condition coverage as defined by the formula, there is a formula for it, that is total decisions excised divided by total number of decisions in a program, then into 100. I repeat, total decisions exercised divided by total number of decisions in a program, and the result of that is to be multiplied by 100. That will give you the condition coverage. So next is your function coverage. When we talk about function coverage, basically it is a new kind of addition to structural testing to identify how many program functions are covered by test cases. Okay, the advantage of this kind of coverage provides over the other types of coverage is one is functions are easier to identify in a program. So it is also easier to write test cases to provide. That means we can easily write test cases for functions. The second advantage I can give you, that since functions are at much higher level of abstraction than code, it is easier to achieve 100%. Okay, because abstraction property is there. So function coverage is far much better than all these techniques because it gives you about 100%. So these are the techniques that comes under code coverage. Now let us talk about code complexity testing. Code complexity testing is basically, as we know that in previous sections we saw the different types of coverage that can be provided to test the programs. So there are some questions. Let me tell you the first question, that which of the paths are independent? If two paths are not independent, then we may be able to minimize the number of tests. Okay. One more question is there, that is there is an upper bound on the number of tests that must be run to ensure that all statements have been executed at least once. You can consider these two questions in your mind. Then a new thing that is applied here in code complexity is known as cyclomatic complexity. Cyclomatic complexity. Cyclomatic complexity is basically a kind of metric that quantifies the complexity of a program and thus provide answers to the questions that I have stated just 2 minutes ago, the two questions. Okay, so when we talk about cyclomatic complexity, then let me explain in detail that our program is represented in the form of flow graph. You know about flow graph. A flow graph is basically a combination of nodes and edges. In your previous classes, in many subjects, you have gone through flow charts. Even in the initial year of your degree, that is first year, you practiced a lot about flow graphs. So flow graph is basically nodes and edges combined. In order to convert a standard flow chart into a flow graph, when we convert a flow chart into a flow graph, then cyclomatic complexity is to be computed. So when we compute the cyclomatic complexity, then we will be knowing a lot of things that are related to testing. So let us start about cyclomatic complexity in detail by using an example. So let's say we have a simple term, that is alpha is a condition. If it is true, then result is 1. If it is false, then result is 2. Please consider again. Alpha is a condition. If it is true, then result is 1. And if it is not true, then result is 2. So you can think then when we will be drawing a flow graph, then OR conditions will be there. OR condition will be there, and a true flow will be there, and a false flow will be there. When we consider this thing as a graph, then we will be converting it into nodes and edges. Then
there is a particular formula to calculate the cyclomatic complexity. Please note down that E minus n plus 2 is equal to the cyclomatic complexity of the graph. And if we are adding more nodes, let's say our problem is big, problem statement is big, our flow chart is big, then conversion will be resulting in a big flow graph, then this formula, that is E minus n plus 2, will be giving the cyclomatic complexity. So what this cyclomatic complexity is going to give us? So students, for small kind of programs, cyclomatic complexity can be calculated manually. But when we talk about big programs, automated tools are required to calculate it. Okay. So as we know that when we design a module, it may not be possible to redesign a complex module after it has been tested. So when we know about the some complexity checks, okay, when we know about the complexity checks, then this can become one of the items to check for in a code review. That means you can review your code on the basis of cyclomatic complexity. So this is about cyclomatic complexity. So this was the basic of white box testing. Let us take a review. Categorized as static and structural. Static is again having 3 categories. Structural is again having 3 categories, among which the second category, code coverage, is having the further 4 categories. And the main thing, code complexity, is basically calculated by cyclomatic complexity. So all of you, please go in to the depth of the topic and refer our reference book, that is Srinivasan, and you will get a lot of examples there of cyclomatic complexity. You can refer to the page number 66, 67 as an introductive part, and as an assignment I will be giving you some cyclomatic complexity questions in our class, in the lecture. So this is about white box testing. In our next lecture we are going to cover the next type of testing, that is black box testing. So till then, thank you.